You ever see a product that's just brilliant? It's beautiful, it works perfectly, and you think, wow, the person who made this is a genius. But then you find out the business behind it totally flopped. Why does that happen so often? It's this weird puzzle, right? Well, today we're going to unpack that exact dilemma, and we're using some really cool research from Argentina's National University of La Plata that I think gets right to the heart of the problem.
I mean, on the surface, a designer and an entrepreneur should be a perfect match. The skills seem to overlap in all the right ways. But in the real world, when you try to put those two hats on one person, it can feel less like a perfect match and more like a perfect storm. So what is going on here?
All right, so to really get this, we first have to appreciate just how well-suited designers are to be amazing entrepreneurs. The research points out that these creators are kind of constantly playing this double role, whether they know it or not.
Just think about it for a second. Their whole job is built on the DNA of entrepreneurship. They solve tricky problems for people. They create real meaning and connection with their products. They work in a world that's full of risk and uncertainty. And their main gig is to spot opportunities no one else sees. It really seems like the ultimate recipe for success, doesn't it?
But, and this is the big but, despite that supernatural fit, there's this stubborn disconnect, a real tension that makes it surprisingly hard for a designer to actually manage their own business and wear that business owner hat with confidence. So where does that tension come from? Well, the researchers say it's not about a lack of talent or drive or anything like that. No, it's something way deeper. It's a fundamental clash between two very, very different cultures.
And check this out. This lays it out perfectly. Over here in the design culture, everything, and I mean everything, is about the product, its meaning, the innovation, the user experience. But then you look at the business culture, and it's all about the opportunity. It's about managing risk, dealing with uncertainty, and building a long-term strategy. It's like they're looking at the exact same world, but through two completely different pairs of glasses.
The research paper just nails it, calling it a cultural clash. And that's the key here. This isn't some minor disagreement. It's a full-on collision of two worlds, two different ways of thinking. And understanding that clash is the key to this whole dilemma.
So if it's a culture clash, you got to ask, where do these cultures even come from? Well, the paper points a finger right at the source, the way designers are actually taught in school.
The big idea here is that designers are trained using what's called an object-centrist approach. And yeah, it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's a way of teaching that puts the object, the product, right at the center of the universe, almost pushing everything else out of the picture.
So this kind of education really hammers home three things. You've got the practical function, does it work? Then there's the aesthetic function, does it look good? And finally, the symbolic function. What does this thing mean to the person using it? All of which are, of course, super important for making a great product.
But focusing only on those three things, as this research shows, well, it creates one heck of a blind spot.
I mean, that kind of training is awesome for creating stuff that's beautiful and works well. But when it's time to build a business around that stuff, what's the one critical piece that's just not there?
And boom, here it is. This is the big aha moment in the research. What's missing is what they call the systemic function. This is the huge picture stuff, how the product fits into the whole system of production, distribution, marketing, the business model. It's the language of business that just doesn't get taught in the design studio.
And that, right there, is the heart of it. By training designers to be so laser-focused on the object itself, the system kind of unintentionally sets them up to struggle later on. Ignoring how that object fits into the bigger business ecosystem becomes the #1 roadblock to their success as entrepreneurs.
But okay, this research isn't just doom and gloom about a broken system. The really exciting part is that it's all about finding a solution. It's about figuring out how to unlock all that incredible potential that these creative people have.
So to do that, the researchers are digging into real-world case studies. They're actually looking at startups founded by graduates from their own university, the ones who somehow figured out how to navigate this cultural clash and actually succeed.
The whole goal here is to find new, successful ways of doing things that actually bridge that gap between the world of design and the world of business. It's not about making designers care less about the product, but about giving them the tools to think about the whole system too. And honestly, the stakes are pretty high. As the paper points out, there's this massive, untapped potential for designers to become key agents for achieving innovation. If we can just get these two cultures talking to each other, we don't just get better businesses, we get more incredible, game-changing products out there in the world.
And that kind of leaves us with a final, really big thought, right? This isn't just some academic debate. Every single time a brilliant idea dies on the vine because its creator couldn't figure out the business side of things, we all lose. It really makes you stop and wonder, what amazing potential is just evaporating into thin air, all because our best ideas can't find a business model to call home?